नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधागोविन्द गोस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते प्रभुपाद्य देवं गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी ग्राम्यजननिस्तारिणे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, we are in Canto 1, Chapter 3. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So, last time we discussed Srila Sudha Goswami listing down total 22 incarnations of the Lord, and then finally he said, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. So now, starting with text number 29, he says, Janma Guiham Bhagavata Ja Etat Prayato Naraha Sayam Pratar Ganan Bhaktya Dukha Grama Vimuchyate. Whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearances of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all material miseries. So here, when we are told that just by reciting the mysterious incarnation of the Lord, one will attain relief from the material miseries. So this is the result of hearing about the incarnation of the Supreme Lord is described. And last time I was speaking that there are some people who simply try to recite these names of different incarnations. But in our understanding, our school of thought, we recommend our devotees to study Srimad Bhagavatam and understand carefully. So now I would like to share the slide so that we can continue from the next. Next is text number 30 to 34. In this section, Srila Sridhar Swami, he writes that Dehadvaya Sambandhasya Bhagavan Mayavatha Vidya Vilasa Tat Etat Savanadi Janita Vidyaya Tat Nivritti Upapadyata iti ashayana ah etat iti panchavi. So here it is said that just now we heard, just by hearing about the mysterious pastimes of the Supreme Lord, one will attain relief from material life. So now the question is being asked, Dehadvaya Sambandhasya, the living entities who have relationship with two types of body. What are those? Gross body and subtle body. And this gross body is awarded to the living being by Maya, which is an act of avidya. Avidya vilashitaya. So then, how is it possible that just by hearing about the mysterious appearances of the Lord, uh, one will become freed? Therefore, it is said, Sridhar Swami is saying, when we hear about the pastime of the Supreme Lord, that is Vidya. That Vidya will help us to get rid of avidya. Avidya means this body is a product of avidya, guna karma. So in that way, when we simply focus on studying Srimad Bhagavatam, that will give us relief. That's what have been said from text number 30 onwards. So text number 30 will say, एतद् रूपं भगवत ह्यरूपस्य चिदात्मन माया गुणै विरचितं महदादि viratmani. The conception of the Virata, universal form of the Lord, as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophyte to adjust to the idea of the Lord's having form, but actually the Lord has no material form. So here the point is in describing the incarnation, Srila Sutta Goswami did not count the Virata form of the Lord. Why he has not counted the Virata form of the Lord? Even though that is giving a description in Srimad Bhagavatam. So the point is, this form, Virata form of the Lord, is an imaginary form, which has also got the gross and subtle imposition of forms, but that have not been described because those who take part in the activities of pure devotional service, they do not take shelter of these forms. And the question can be asked, then why such kind of forms are there in Srimad Bhagavatam? So there are people, there are ignorant people who are not taking part in Krishna consciousness, in devotional service directly. For them, it is very difficult to understand how the transcendental form of the Lord in relation with devotional service can give liberation. Actually, they don't have much information about the Supreme Lord, or you can say those who are jnanis, they just simply try to focus on Vedartha. So in that way, it is in Bhagavad Gita also it is said, those who are ajnanis, Ukramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudha nanu pasyanti jnana chakshusha. So those who are devoid of the knowledge, what is that knowledge? How the living entities are being bound in this body, and bhunjanam va gunanvitam. They enjoy in this body assuming different senses. Vimudha nanu pasyanti. Those who are illiterate, they cannot understand this. So therefore, now we have to understand. Those who have knowledge, they take shelter of the direct worship of the Supreme Lord. So in that way, those who are in the yoga practice, yoga school, they actually take to this primary understanding, because we have this body which is a product of material elements. So when we don't have connection with the Krishna consciousness, then that time it is quite useful for a yogi to meditate upon this gross form, universal form of the Lord in form of Virata Rupa. Uh, But we should understand that neither the living entity nor the Supreme Lord is having the gross form. Even the gross form which the living entities are getting, and as a result of which they are taking again and again, they are taking birth again and again in this world, that is just an attribute, it is attributed to the living being under ignorance, avidya. Maya gives that. In Shruti it says, Asanga hi ayam purusha. Uh, why we are saying that this material body, gross body or subtle body, is an imposition on the jiva? Because Asanga hi ayam purusha. This jiva, he has nothing to do with the material dreams. Having the body, having different types of relationship, then trying to enjoy with the body, these are called dreaming condition. So these dreaming conditions are nothing but an imposition. Therefore, in the next verse, Srila Prabhupada is going to speak. Now, in this verse, I'll read the last part of the purport, where Srila Prabhupada says, the material conception of the Lord is not counted in the list of the factual forms, like the 22 incarnations which Sutta Goswami has counted. As Paramatma or Supersoul, the Lord is within each and every material form, even within the atoms, but the outward material form is but an imagination, both for the Lord and for the living being. See, for the Lord and the living being means the Virata form in this connection. The present form of the conditioned souls are also not factual. The conclusion is that the material conception of the body of the Lord as Virata is imaginary. Both the Lord and the living beings are living spirits and have original spiritual bodies. Huh? Therefore, further he describes that यथा नभसि मेघौघ रेणुर्वा पार्थिव नीले एवं द्रष्टरि दृश्यत्वम आरोपितम अबुद्धिभिः. Now one can ask how this kind of experiences take place in a living entity. So therefore here it is said avidya arupitam abuddhivi. This is imposed. How? There's a nice analogy given by Srila Sutta Goswami in this connection. The analogy says, like sometimes we say sky is cloudy or air is dusty. Is sky cloudy? No, sky is not cloudy. Cloud is resting on the air. And even though we are not able to see the sky, still we just impose the condition, the quality of the cloud onto the sky, because it is floating in the sky. Okay, through air. Air actually carrying the cloud from one place to another. Similarly, air is dusty. You are actually not able to see the air, but what you see, the gray color of the dirt which is coming from the earth, the gray color, or you can say the dust, is a particle of the earth, and the gray color of the particles, dark dust particles, are coming from the earth. But an unknown person, he just imposes this gray dusty, the air is dusty, or the color of the air is gray, sometimes we say. So that is what is happening, the illusory phenomena. And when we don't have the actual knowledge about the personality of Godhead, this is how we kind of, try to impose upon. So here Prabhupada says, those who want to see the Lord with their present material eyes or with the material senses, are advised to meditate on the gigantic external feature called the Virata Rupa. Okay? Those who want to see the Lord with their present material eyes. That is for the yogis. For instance, when a particular gentleman goes in his car, which can be seen very easily, we identify the car with the man within the car. When the president goes out in his particular car, we say there is the best president. For the time being, we identify the car with the president. Similarly, less intelligent men who want to see God immediately without necessary qualification are shown first the gigantic material cosmos as the form of the Lord, although the Lord is within and without. So just like here we are saying that we are able to see the car, we are not able to see the president who is inside. We say president is going. So similarly, those who don't have the information about the Lord, how he can be everywhere, and his body is not a combination of the material energy, but he is beyond this material product. People who do not know it, they try to describe him in that way. So then in text number 32, he says, beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form, which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond this subtlety. Otherwise, he could not have repeated births. So here the point is, the conclusion is, neither the spirit, soul, nor the Supreme Lord have a material form. Originally, we are having the spiritual bodies as described by Prabhupada before. So that's why saying, जत्रे में सदसद रूपे प्रतिसिद्धे सुसंविदा अविद्यात्मनि कृते इति यद ब्रह्म दर्शन. Now here in text number 32, it has been described how a living entity, even though encased in the material body, still he can realize Brahman. He can attain to the self-realization. How? When, and that process has been defined in the next verse. Verse number 33 and 34 both are describing this principle. I'm reading a translation to 32. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. So these have been defined by our acharyas, uh, like sometimes the jnanis, how do they realize the Brahman? Okay, which is also called Jivan Mukta Sthiti. If you see Prabhupada's purport, okay, let me read from the slide. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies are nothing to do with pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. How does it happen? How one attains this self-realization? Srila Prabhupada, he is speaking at the end of the purport. The second paragraph I am reading, just listen carefully. When the living being desires to be the enjoyer of the material energy, illusory phenomena, the Lord covers the living being in the mystery of forgetfulness, and thus the living being misinterprets the gross body and subtle mind to be his own self. This we know very clear. Okay. And by culture of transcendental knowledge, when the living being prays to the Lord for deliverance from the clutches of forgetfulness, the Lord, by his causeless mercy, removes the living being's illusory curtain, which we're going to see in the next verse, actually. This point again will be elaborated in the next verse. And thus, he realizes his own self. He then engages himself in the service of the Lord in his eternal constitutional position, becoming liberated from the conditioned life. All this is executed by the Lord either through his external potency or directly by the internal potency. This last sentence is very, very important. We need to understand this. How? Through this external potency and internal potency. See, those who are jnanis, they also try to realize Brahman. What is that? In Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Jnani Jivan Mukta Dasa Painu Kari Mane Vastuta Buddhi Suddha Nahe Krishna Bhakti Bine. Those who are followers of the path of Jnana, what do they try? They just try to annihilate their individuality, their identity. And by focusing onto the meditative form of the Lord, they try to get rid of the desires in this material world. Okay? They try. And they think they have become free from all the desires. That's why Jnani Jivan Mukta Dosa Painu Kari Mane. He thinks I have attained to the platform of Jivan Mukta stage. That's why Prabhupada is saying he's either through his external potency. And if this person being allured by the external potency of the Lord, if he thinks like that, then what will happen? He will fall down. Arujya Kritsena Param Patam Tata Patanti Adha. Arujya Kritsena Param Padam Tata Patanti Adha. This is one explanation. This is the explanation about, and either through external energy, then or directly by the internal potency. How a person who is the student of Jnana, path of Jnana, how he can realize this directly under internal potency? The explanation is, other day I think I was explaining that when a Jnani, he tries to totally, almost brings to zero his material desires. Means he does not identify with any material object, even with the material body in this world. And he has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. What is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? Je jathamam prapadyante tam stathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartman vartante manusya partha sarvasya. So this Jnani, he accepts Lord's Sri Vigraha form as Satchidananda Maya. And also he accepts the eternal nature of Lord's birth and activities, appearance and activities. Then what happens? Because he sincerely desired to annihilate his existence, identity, then he will be given the opportunity to realize that he is in quality equal with the personality of Godhead. So at that time, because he has taken up a bit of devotional service by which, I mean to say bhakti, by which he is able to realize the sameness in quality with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, this little devotion, what is that little devotion? He accepts Krishna's body is Sachidananda Vigraha. He accepts Krishna's birth and activity is eternal. This little understanding will help him to come in contact with a pure devotee of the Lord. Thereby, everything will open to him. By the association of pure devotee, he will listen to Bhagavatam, he will take up devotional service, and then again he will go to the abode of the Lord as per his devotional service. So this is the point. So this is how we realize Brahman. And how does it happen? Jadesho Purata, this is what have been said in 34, that Jadesho Purata Devi Maya Vaisharadi Mati Sampanna Eveti Vidhu Mahimni Swe Mahiyate. Maya Vaisharadi. Here the Maya, external energy, the Maya Shakti have been defined as Vaisharadi. Why Vaisharadi? Lord is omnipotent and Maya is energy. Therefore, Maya is full of knowledge. If you see Prabhupada's word-to-word meaning, Vaisharadi, Prabhupada is saying full of knowledge. Maya, who is putting us into illusion, she is in full knowledge. Why it have been said like that? Because Maya is the energy of the Supreme Lord. And when Maya is controlled by the Lord, she can work accordingly. Like when in the previous purport we are reading, when the living entity, they want to separately enjoy from the Lord, then Maya will forget his Swarupa and he will consider he is the Lord of this place and he will try to gratify the senses. On the other hand, when the living entity, he takes shelter of the personality of Godhead, Swo Sambhida. In the previous verse, there is a word coming, Swo Sambhida. Swo Sambhida means in the association of the devotees, he tries to inquire about the personality of Godhead. Then what happens? At that time, Lord will instruct this energy to release the conditioned soul. So very interesting point, this purport is very, very useful. Let me read it out to you. Because the Lord is the absolute transcendence, all of his forms, names, pastimes, attributes, associates, and energies are identical with him. Then now, carefully watch the next sentence. His transcendental energy acts according to his omnipotency. The same energy acts is his external, internal, and marginal energies. See, Lord energy in the spiritual world and in the material world, from the Lord's perspective, there is no difference. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying, the same energy. What are the energy? The energies which defines Lord's form, pastime, attribute, all these energies. Prabhupada is saying the same energy acts as his external, internal, and marginal energies. And by his omnipotency, he can perform anything and everything through the agency of any of the above energies. Further in the purport, Prabhupada explains how we see from the Lord's perspective, everything is transcendental. Okay, he can use the energy as he desires. Uh, as he desires. Prabhupada gives the analogy of an electrician who utilizes the electrical energy for both heating and cooling by adjustment only. So if an electrician can use this one energy called electrical energy and adjust it to have two types of effect. Sometimes he can produce heat and sometimes he can use the same energy for cooling purpose. What is the difficulty for the Lord? To use his own energy to apply it in the material world and also apply it in relation to the spiritual world. So therefore, Prabhupada says that similarly the external energy which now builds the living being into continuation of birth and death is turned into internal potency by the will of the Lord to lead the living being to eternal life. When a living being is thus graced by the Lord, he is placed in his proper constitutional position to enjoy eternal spiritual life. See, it's so clear and self-evident from Prabhupada's purport. Okay. Then in text number 35, Janma एवं जन्मनि कर्माणि ह्यकर्तु रजनस्य च वर्णयन्ति स्म कवय वेदगुह्यानि व्युत्पत्ते. The learned man describe the births and activities of the unborn and inactive, which is undiscoverable even in the Vedic literature. He is the Lord of the heart. So here, in the beginning of the purport, Prabhupada says, both the Lord and the living entities are essentially all spiritual. Therefore, both of them are eternal. And neither of them has birth and death. You see? Just remember the statement previously we were discussing. The present material body of the conditioned soul is also imposed upon him. The soul has an original spiritual body. That's why I say there is no birth and no death. These bodies are imposed upon the living entities in the material life. The difference is that the so-called birth and disappearances of the Lord are unlike those of the living beings. So, when the Lord descends to this world, he does not descend with material covering. He comes with Sachidananda Vigraha. But when we take birth, the body has been given to us by Prakriti. That's why Prabhupada is saying, we should always take advantage of the narration of the activities of the Lord, which are meditations on Brahman in the most convenient and palatable form. So, this is how a living entity can gain relief from the material world by taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. So in that way, in text number 35, anyway, we have seen this. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this connection, the Jiva's birth and actions are related to matter, and the Lord's birth and actions are without relation to matter. So then, he continues, in next text number 36, Lord's remarkable qualities are described. What are the Lord's remarkable qualities? Savaidam vishwamamoghalila srijatyavatyati na sajjatesmin bhuteshu chantarhita atmatantra sadvargikam jighrati sadgunesha. So this verse describes the wonderful qualities of the Lord. Sadvargikam jighrati sad gunesha. So, Lord have been defined here as Sadvargikam, means he conducts six senses. Six sense objects actually. We know there are five sense objects, right? Form, touch, sound, taste, and smell. Then the last one is called thought, that have been defined by the acharyas. So even though Lord contact these sense objects, but he is not affected just by like the living entities. And Shadgunesha, he is the master of the six senses. Uh, so in that way, he is also Shad Aishwarya Purna Bhagavan. In that way, Samacharya is explained. Uh, so in that way, this is how he performs his pastime. Anyone who knows his remarkable qualities, how he, by touching, coming in contact with the sense objects, is not affected just like the living bed and just like the conditioned souls, and also he is Sard Gunesha. He is the Lord of all opulences. That's why Prabhupada is saying in the translation, the Lord whose activities are always spotless. In the master of is the master of the six senses and is fully omnipotent with six opulences. This represents Sadgunesha. He creates manifested universes, maintains them, and annihilates them without being in the least affected. He is within every living being and is always independent. Then in text number 37, it describes the Lord is beyond the reach of fruity worker and mental speculators. So in 37, the foolish with a poor fund of knowledge cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in a drama. Now, nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words. So in this way, those who are fruity workers and mental speculators, they cannot reach the Lord. In text number 38, it describes only devotees of the Lord can know Him to be to a considerable extent, and no one can know Him at all. Devotees can know Him to some degree, not 100%. Why? The Lord will reveal Himself to the devotee according to the degree of surrender of the devotee. That's why, to some extent, considerable extent, we can understand the Lord, not fully. सवेद धातु पदवीं परस्य दुरन्तवीर्यस्य रथाङ्गपाणिः यो माया सन्ततयानुवृत्य भजेत तत्पादसरोजगन्धम्. Only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who carries the wheel of the chariot in his hand, can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power, and transcendence. So, in this way, we understood that Lord can only be understood by his devotees, not by mental speculators or by karmis. So now we're going to continue from the next verse. So next verse starts with, sorry, what is going on here? Text number, sorry. Okay, this one. In text number 39, pure bhakti is required to realize the Lord. That is described here. Athehe dhanya bhagavanta itham. So here now, Srila Sutta Goswami, he is saying, you are all very knowledgeable sages. Why he is saying you are all very knowledgeable sages? Because he is referring to the questions, how they have asked the questions, the sages. And he has very briefly responded to a few questions. Now he is saying that if I have to respond to your queries, your questions, then I have to narrate Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that he is speaking about? You all are very great souls. Why? Kurbanti sarvatmakam atma bhavam. You have asked me a question about Vasudeva and you have shown your transcendental ecstasy, ecstatic love unto Vasudeva through asking these questions. And these questions can be answered by describing Bhagavatam. And then when you hear Srimad Bhagavatam and you attend to the supreme abode of the Lord, na jatra bhuya parivarta ugraha. You don't have to come and take birth in the terrible material world again. And you will definitely cease this process of transmigration. So in that way, now Srila Sutta Goswami, he is introducing how he is going to speak Srimad Bhagavatam to respond to the questions asked by the sages. So in this connection, so far whatever Srila Sutta Goswami has described, these are the brief description of a few questions. Now, in responding to the questions fully, entire Srimad Bhagavatam will be described. That means Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer to all 6 questions asked by the sages. In the beginning, Srila Sutta Goswami, he praises Srimad Bhagavatam. Idam Bhagavatam nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Sloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nisevasya Lokasya Dhanyam Swastayanam Mahat. So here he is saying that this scripture named Srimad Bhagavatam is a literary incarnation of God. Idam Bhagavatam nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Veda Tulya Parabrahma Sri Krishnena Tulya. This Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Sri Krishna and it is compiled by Vyasadeva, Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Vyasadeva. Who is he? Incarnation of God. And Nisya Sayalokasya Dhanyam Swastyanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam can bring all success and it is all blissful, it is all perfect. Why? Because it is Krishna himself. In Saunaka Smriti, it is described the glory of this Bhagavatam that anyone who chants this Srimad Bhagavatam verses regularly, he actually gets the benefit of chanting the holy name of the Lord. We have seen sometimes some devotees, they regularly recite Srimad Bhagavatam verses. You have seen it, or you might have heard it, especially devotees in Vrindavan and some other places also. They chant these Bhagavatam verses. When you are not able to focus on chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can just recite one chapter from Srimad Bhagavatam. There is a verse, he says, Vedak Srani Javanti Patitani Dijuttamai Tavanti Harinamani Kirtitani Na Samshaya. Iti Pratyaksharam Harinamocharana Phala dam iti. Every word gives the benefit of reciting the Harinam, Harinam Ucharana Phalam. So in that way, studying Bhagavatam is very, very important service for the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada is writing in the purport, the last 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. One can derive from the study of the Bhagavatam all benefits that are possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. Because this Srimad Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna himself. It carries with it all the transcendental blessings of Lord Sri Krishna that we can expect from his personal contact. Nama, Nami, Abhinnatva, Nama, Namina, right? We have heard. Nama and Nami are non-different. So this Srimad Bhagavatam being non-different from the Lord, when you recite Srimad Bhagavatam, you get the benefit of chanting the holy name of the Lord. See? Purnam Brahma Sammitam. Srimad Bhagavatam is a literary incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna and is therefore non-different from him. So it is non-different from Krishna. Okay, we have seen this. Now, further, he describes in text number 41 that this Srimad Bhagavatam has to be received for the disciplic succession. Tadidam grahyamasa sutam atma batambaram. Prabhupada, he writes in the purport, this section is commented like this by Prabhupada. Shukadeva Goswami is the topmost personality of all the self-realized souls, and he accepted this as the subject of studies from his father, Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva is the great authority, and the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam being so important, he delivered the message first to his great son, Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Idam taddam grahyamasa. So Vyasadeva, he compiled this Srimad Bhagavatam, then he made his son, Shukadeva Goswami, who was interested in Brahmananda, he studied this. And Sutam Atma Baram, Atma Batam Baram, Sutam means Shukadeva Goswami. Okay? Then, next, Sarva Veda Itihasanam Saram Saram Samritam. This is the essence of all Vedas and Itihasas. Therefore, he made his son study. Even though he was a Brahmanubhavi, still he could concentrate on Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the point. Therefore, Prabhupada, he comments Srimad Bhagavatam as the authority of Shastra. Men with a poor fund of knowledge only accept the history of the world from the time of Buddha or since 600 BC. And prior to this period, all histories mentioned in the scriptures are calculated by them to be only imaginary stories. That means Prabhupada is referring that, look, Srimad Bhagavatam even existed before 600 BC. Okay? That is not a fact. All the stories mentioned in the Puranas and Mahabharata, etc., are actual histories, not only of this planet, but also of millions of other planets within the universe. We should not therefore reject the stories and histories of the Puranas as imaginary. The great rishis like Vyasa had no business putting some imaginary stories in their literatures. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, historical facts selected from the histories of different planets have been depicted. It is therefore accepted by all the spiritual authorities as the Mahapurana. The special significance of these histories is that they are all connected with activities of the Lord in a different time and atmosphere. So in that way, the histories or the stories which have been recited in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, we should never take them as imaginary. Then in the next verse, Srila Sutta Goswami, he continues to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam, but this is a very, very important verse. In future, again, you will see this verse will keep coming. Here, Srila Sutta Goswami is saying, look, I am going to speak to you this Srimad Bhagavatam, which was recited by Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit in the assembly of sages. Sotu Sangsravayamasa Maharajam Parikshitam. That Sukadev Goswami, who heard Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, he delivered this Srimad Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit. When Prayapavishtam Gangayam Paritam Paramarsivi, when he came to the bank of Ganga and who sat surrounded by sages, waiting his death without taking food or drink, Prabhupada is saying. He fasted till death. So now I'm going to speak to you about that Srimad Bhagavatam. And where did he get it? He got it from his Guru Maharaj. Now Sutta Goswami is going to speak. So this next verse, if I let me see, Aham, in text number 44, I'm just going, not reading 43 now, to give you a connection between 42 and 44. In 42, he said that Sukadev Goswami, he gave Srimad Bhagavatam to Emperor Parikshit. Now, I am going to give to you. Where did I get it? Aham chadhyagatam tatra nivishta tat anugrahat. Actually, when Sukadev Goswami was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam in the assembly to Maharaj Parikshit, at that time Sutta Goswami was also present. And because Sutta Goswami was present, therefore, at the end of the class, we can say, Sukadev Goswami, he told all the members who were present there. That's what I'm quoting from the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the reference. Where Sukadev Goswami, he said, this Sutta Goswami, who is very attentively hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he will narrate the same to the sages in Naimisharanya when he will be asked by them. Okay? So this was a special blessing given to Sutta Goswami by Sukadev Goswami. In this connection, one thing we should remember, that those devotees who are a very, very loyal student or loyal listeners, then they get the blessing from the Guru. And Guru can detect it. Sukadev Goswami could very easily detect. Therefore, he gave the blessing to Srila Sutta Goswami, and Sutta Goswami spoke it afterwards. In text number 43, the sixth answer to the sixth question have been given. They asked the question, where did the religious principle go after Krishna ended his manifest pastime? Now, he is saying, Krishna swadhamupagate dharma jnana divisah kalo nasta disamesha purana kathanam. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So, Prabhupada writes in the purport, Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam are like torch bearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. So therefore, in our society, we give a lot of emphasis into reading these books, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada also has said, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If you read all these books, then you will be equipped with the knowledge necessary for going back home, back to Godhead. So, this is how we completed chapter